Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's program. We'll begin in just a few minutes.
Hello and welcome to today's AWCI Media Online Competing and Winning, How to Set Your Company Apart, sponsored by Grabber Construction Products Incorporated. I am Anne-Marie Salvatelli, AWCI's Director of Education and Foundation Programs, and I will be your host for today's presentation. I am joined by Chris Williams, AWCI's Director of Membership Development and Engagement, who will moderate today's program.
Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining us. On your screen, you should see our first poll question of today. This will help us determine how many are in our audience. We'd like to know how many people are viewing today's webinar with you. Please click on your selection on your screen to submit. We'll have more questions throughout today's broadcast, so be on the lookout.
Before we start, a few housekeeping items. All attendees should be on mute during today's presentation. However, we ask that you please mute your phones or computer microphones as well to ensure that we keep a clear line for our presenters. Should you have a question at any time during today's broadcast, please submit it using the question box in your GoToMeeting dashboard. We have a brief question and answer at the end of our presentation, and we'll make every attempt to get all of your questions resolved. If you have any audio or visual issues during today's presentation, do not hesitate to let us know by using the chat function in the dashboard or by emailing me directly at salvatelli@awci.org. We will attempt to resolve any issues that may arise as quickly as possible. Today's program will be recorded and uploaded to AWCI Media YouTube channel. All attendees will receive a link to access this and the other AWCI recordings about an hour after the program, which will also include a link to our brief follow-up survey. Today's PowerPoint slides may be downloaded by clicking the handouts link on your dashboard. Thank you to today's sponsor, Grabber Construction Products Incorporated. Grabber Construction Products Incorporated, Grabber, formerly known as John Wagner Associates, was founded in 1967, led the way into the transition to drywall screws from galvanized nails for drywall attachment. Grabber was instrumental in introducing new innovations in drywall fasteners in the fine thread streaker point and scavenger head drywall screws. Grabber is the premier brand for materials used by construction contractors specializing in wall and ceilings for residential and commercial buildings. Through strong alliances with manufacturers and suppliers, a loyal customer base, strong dealer organization, and superb sales and a customer service staff, Grabber has become a predominant supplier for construction and finishing systems and other significant products with a reputation for providing high-quality, professional-grade fasteners. Known as the professional's choice, Grabber strives to make the jobs of contractors everywhere easier, productive, and profitable.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I'd like to welcome today's presenter, Norb Slowakowski. Norb is a productivity consultant who has been working in the construction industry since 1982. He's assisted more than 180 contractors in improving productivity and maximizing profitability by focusing on training more than 10,000 foremen, superintendents, and project managers in management and leadership, and empowering people to become proactive instead of reactive. Norb's the author of the book, Hard Hat Productivity, The 9 Critical Factors for Maximizing Profits. He's also been a columnist for AWCI's Construction Dimensions for more than 15 years. Norb, thanks for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thanks for having me. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about 3 essential ingredients. Profit, which is what we want. Productivity is how we're going to get there with the right skills. And it all happens in a climate. So we're going to focus on the model and then expand on it as we go through the presentation. So profit is what you have left after you pay all your costs and you have the right people in place. Productivity is the ability to make sure you get the quantity of work done and the quality with the 7 key resources so that we can avoid rework and maximize our profitability. So productivity is the path to profit. That's what you need to focus on. Profit will occur if you are very effective at improving productivity and putting that as your engine. Climate is where it happens. There has to be a positive work climate for people to do their best every day. So that's going to require focus, skills, alignment, and deployment. Focus means what is the mission of your company and the vision, the values, the goals, and the action plans. Then we'll get into the client. After focus, we have skills, what I call the FACT system, functional, adaptive, and technical. Plan, organize, direct, and control. Effective leadership, making sure you have all the technical skills, the actual hands-on tasks that you have to do on a daily basis. And then we're going to get into alignment, which means is the office and the field aligned? Is the people in the office attentive to what's going on in the field and make sure the people in the field, the foremen and the crews, get what they need to be productive? And deployment is taking action, understanding what you have to do to get there, applying the right skills so we get the appropriate results. And then we get into the 4 phases of the construction process. There's you have a job startup, which means an example would be we meet with the general contractor to find out exactly what his expectations are and what does he want from us and what do we want from the general contractor. We also will most likely review the prints in that particular phase. Job preparation and planning would be conducting a pre-job planning meeting in our organization with the key people, foreman, superintendent, project manager, estimator, safety manager. Anybody else that's going to have their hands in the project would be involved in that pre-job planning meeting. Then we'll probably do a job site walk around with those people to see what conditions are we faced with when we actually have to go out and do the work. Job in progress would be the 3rd phase. That means that most likely we will walk a job site and put together a job site visit report and let the general contractor know how he's doing and are there any things that we need to work on and improve. There will be daily huddles on the job on a daily basis between the foreman and his crew to talk about what we need to do for each day. Weekly planning will be very important on the foreman's part, working with the project manager. We will have a labor budget, make sure we manage that budget. Material handling. toolbox talks. Those will be all on job in progress. And then we'll go to the job closeout, where we will actually have our post-job review meeting and a final evaluation and a meeting with the general contractor. Let them tell us how we did. We will give them feedback about how they did, and hopefully we can get repeat business. Then we'll demobilize the job. So that's kind of the overview of where we're going today. So again, what a profit, what the company earns after all the costs are recovered. Cost of material, cost of labor, there's overhead. So once we cover our costs and we have the markup, how much money do we really make? Are we going to be profitable? Do we have all the resources we need? Resources are very important. What are they? Tools, equipment, material, manpower, information, training and support. We're missing any of those resources, productivity is going to go down, which diminishes profitability. So it's people, productivity equals profit. Productivity is a measure of profit, the effective utilization of resources to achieve the quality and quantity of output. But we have to follow the schedule, make sure the schedule takes us to where we want to be. We want to recover all the costs, and when we do that, we are making some money. And the three cost factors are, you can see, getting orders or sales and engineering, making sure we have the necessary resources to do the job, filling the orders, purchasing, delivering, installing the actual material. You know, when we talk about cost factors, you're talking labor, maybe, 35, 40%. Material might be 30%. Equipment and tools, you're talking maybe 15 to 20%. If we have subcontractors that we hire for the job, that'd be another 5%. Our overhead would be 10%. So these are our outlays, and we want, if we can do a better job of managing our costs, we will increase our profit. Interesting thing, one time I looked at a gang box and what all the tools and what was in there, and we looked at it and we decided, or we actually calculated that in this particular gang boxes, there was $1,900 worth of equipment in that gang box. And how we utilize those tools and equipment will determine how effective we are. So what does productivity require? It means striving for perfection. Although perfection is unattainable, what we want there is continuous improvement. Quality product and service. We want to avoid rework because we haven't budgeted for rework. That's extra cost. We want to meet our deadlines and make sure we know what the customer expects of us, because our customer is the designated driver. So we got to meet the customer's schedule. Getting quality work done within specific time frames. That's our process in place. Planning, scheduling. Endless work means we're never done. Every day is a brand new day, and it doesn't really matter what you did yesterday. A positive attitude, the foreman needs that and all his people to do your best, because if you have a negative attitude, you're not going to be very effective and efficient. Effective, what does effective mean? People ask me that. Effective means always do the right thing. And efficient means do it right the first time, so we can avoid rework, for which we haven't budgeted for. So basically, we're talking about working smarter, not harder. Making sure that we are innovative and move forward and learn how to embrace change when it occurs and not get upset about it. So it's really all about the effective utilization of available resources. So the productivity model, as I said, it's the definition, effective utilization of resources to achieve the quantity and quality of output and the scheduled deadlines. If we can beat the deadlines, we're really going to maximize our profits. So we achieve excellence by continuous improvement. We're always trying to do better. We never really relax and take it easy. Striving for perfection, like I said, it's continuous improvement. Taking attention to quality. Make sure you understand what the quality specs are for the job. What are the customer's requirements? Because we got to satisfy their requirements, because the customer is the designated driver. Endless work means that we're really never done, and we strive every day to do your best every day, and that's an attitude. So making things better, innovation, always striving to do better, generating ideas and embracing change. The climate, where we work. There has to be a focus. Focus on what? The company should have a mission statement. Maybe they do. Know what it is. The mission means, why does the company exist? I will give you an example. XYZ company exists to provide excellence in everything we do. Exceptional quality. People who care and contribute. Innovative systems and strategies. The customer is the designated driver. That's a company I work with, and that's their mission statement. There needs to be a vision statement. What do you see yourself doing in the future? Looking out, say, 5 years from now, what is it that we want to accomplish? Here's an example vision. To become an employer of choice, creating a work environment that gets buy-in from all managers and employees to our mission of excellence. This requires valuing and developing people, a management commitment of continuous training, education, and coaching. That's a sample vision. Values, people have values. You have to satisfy their values. Example again, I was working with a company where these were their most important values, what the people wanted. Trust, honesty, continuous improvement, adaptability, credibility, and fairness. They called it their company's leadership promise. That's what they promise to deliver to the employees that work for them so they can improve productivity and maximize productivity. Then we have to set goals as we go along. We could have a 6-month job, a year job, 2-year job. And we have to keep setting goals on a weekly and a monthly basis so we know where we're headed. And then we develop the action plans to get there, because without an action plans, you'll never reach the goals. So that's the focus we have to have. So we get into next is what is managing and what is leading. Well, there's the FAT system. The FAT system are the skills requirements that you have to have. Those are the functional skills, adaptive skills, and technical skills, FAT. The management skills are, you have to plan the work. You have to make sure we're organized. We have to give people appropriate and specific direction so they reach the goals. And we have to have control, which is, do we have an accountability system in place? Those are the basic and most important management systems. We'll get more into it as we proceed. Leadership is our adaptive skills, our people skills. How do we adapt to the needs of the people? People have different personalities. How do we how we deal with these people? Establishing a positive work climate so people like coming to work every day and they want to do their best days, their best work. And then how do we motivate others on the job? How do we get people to maximize their performance so that we can continue to have a company that is a piece that people want to work for? Technical skills, the physical work, for example, a hanging drywall, installing a ceiling. Those are the physical work, the actual tasks that we have to do. And people want to know how to do that effectively and efficiently. Then there's leadership, which we said was the adaptive skill. We call those people skills. If you don't have people skills, it's going to get people to perform to their maximum effectiveness. That is positive interpersonal relationships with people. Understanding personality differences. We'll be talking more about that. People have different personalities. For example, there are dominant people, what I call get on with it people. There are influencers who are very important of how to deal effectively with how to feel effectively with people. There are steady people who are really easygoing and relaxed and methodical. And then we got competent people who are really good at what they do, and they really know how to do well in terms of bringing quality to the forefront. Leadership is a display of attitude of openness and opportunity. Be flexible and adaptable because, excuse me, things are changing all the time. A can-do oriented personality. We got to exercise action, or we will not get very much done. So how you are going to go to get where you want to go, where you want to go with your planning ability. We need a solution orientation, not a problem orientation. We have to identify the problems, but we have to make sure we resolve them. And then we build teamwork to achieve objectives. We have to and harness all of our people to make sure that everybody works together, cooperates, so that we can achieve the objectives and maximize our profitability. Part of the things I talked about was problem solving. Problem solving to me is learning opportunities. That's what our problems are. Don't look at them as a negative. They're learning opportunities. So when there is a problem, first step is clearly define it. What is the problem? Make sure you know what it is. Be specific about it. Second thing is to investigate for underlying causes. Why did the problem occur? Do some investigating because there are underlying causes for every problem. The third step is what I call brainstorming. Generating ideas, just throwing out ideas, brainstorming. They may not eventually solve the problem right away, but we get alternatives, and we just let the juices flow and let people toss out their ideas. Then we have setting the objective or the goal. What is it that we really want to accomplish? And once we know what we want to accomplish, then we go back to all those ideas and pick those that will meet our objective and our goals. It's the results that we want to achieve. Then we select the best solution that will help us reach our goals and solve our problems. Then we develop an action plan. It's the how-to, how are we going to get there? Tasks that we have to do with deadlines and specific tasks that take us to where we want to be. So that's all about leadership. You got to manage the project and you lead the people. So there's your leadership. We talked about the positive work climate that we talked about. It's all about performance. Are our people confident? Are they competent? Can they deal with change? Do they know exactly how to implement the skills they're supposed to have, their technical skills to get good results and make sure we meet the schedule and quality? It's influencing, encouraging, and making sure we value people, because without people, we will not get good results. Like I said earlier, people plus productivity equals profit. And then there's what I call, you have to be a Theory Z leader, not a Theory X people who's a dominant, overbearing person, or a Theory Y leader who is too easygoing and doesn't want to hold anybody accountable. I call that the nice person. You need a Z leader who puts it all together, and it's all about getting everybody to work as a team. You look at the word team, together everybody accomplishes more. So it's bringing all those people together as an effective team to get the results we're looking for and maximize our profitability. So you got to have the right habits and values, which we talked about. We have to have positive behavior and take action. And we're all connected by team, which is the positive relationships and valuing each other. So there's an alignment. An alignment means a sequencing of steps. It's being organized. If you're not organized, you will not get these desired results. So you have to align the office with the field. You have to align the foreman with the crew. And this requires having a right process in place, which is an organized way of doing things. We want to make sure people understand what are the tasks that we have to do every day and the deadlines and the resources to get there. We have to have standards, which are measures of performance. For example, the standard for quality would be no rework. If we have no rework, we're maximizing our quality. You don't have to do anything over. We have to have our job controls. And for example, a job control would be in starting up a job. Again, we have to make sure that we meet with the general contractor and get their feedback about what they expect from us and let people know what we expect of them. So again, there's the doing job site walkarounds and having a pre-job planning meeting. There's the job site visit reports and what I call MBWA, managed by walking around, and making sure we keep the eye on what's happening on the details and make sure that we make any corrections or remove barriers that occur. And then we have job closeout where we do our post-job review, lessons learned, what did we do right and what do we need to improve on. Without job controls, the job runs you. That's nothing but stress and anxiety. Perform, take action. It's very important to have key job responsibilities for every position in the company, and it should be on one page. It should include the standards for each person and what are the standards that we follow. And accountability, we have to put an accountability in actual. Be sure that we know what holds people accountable. And the first step is we have to have standards. What are we holding people accountable to? The standards, which means quality, we want no rework. Quantity, meet the schedule and make sure we meet the labor budget. Making sure we have safety rules in place and know how to install our materials with the possibility of making sure we do it right and use the right time and right amount. Relationship, building positive relationships with our own people, other trades on the job, and our general contractor. Making sure we have all the information we need, the labor budget, quality specs for the job, safety rules, our labor budget, how to do proper ordering so we get what we need when we need it, and have a process for tracking the labor so we know how we're doing in terms of are we meeting or exceeding our budget. Without accountability, the job runs us, and I'll tell you one thing, we're gonna minimize our profits, which is not a good idea. So we have to make sure we set and communicate our standards. Follow up, check, like I talked about, manage by walking around. When people are doing good work, make sure we give them positive feedback. When people do good work, positive reinforcement. Let people know we appreciate what they're doing. Give people compliments for doing good work. When people are making mistakes, which they will, let's not criticize, let's do coaching. Let's help people improve performance. And usually if you give proper attention through coaching, people will do the right thing. You follow up again, and if people are maybe still confused, might do some more coaching, but you let them know that after coaching, if they do not meet the standards, then there are consequences. And the consequences would mean losing their jobs. You hold people accountable if they're not meeting what's expected after proper training and coaching. You have to deliver the consequences. But when you deliver the consequences and you've used coaching and people know exactly you want to work with them and you value them, you're fair. And when you're fair, it is sometimes appropriate to let people go. But without doing that, you just don't want to fire people because you're just upset. And if you don't have the right standards in place, you're not doing your job. You're not holding people accountable to the standard. So we talked about the job controls, and we talked about the phase one. Again, let me go over what's important in terms of job startup. Make sure that we understand that you understand the foreman knows what the scope of work is. What are the quality specs for the job? Material list, the materials that you're going to need to do your work, and make sure that they are ordered in enough time to be delivered to the job site on time. You want to review the blueprints and make sure that they're color coded for what's important. And you're reviewing this information both with the superintendent and the project manager and the foreman, the three key peoples in the process of productivity. Your labor budget, proper coding, tracking the labor, paperwork requirements, what's needed. Is there a request for additional work, extra work? Do we fill out a change order? Extra work authorization, and the policy and the procedures for extra work organization. What's the safety program that we need to implement on the job site, along with the safety rules. Our job schedule, planning on a day-to-day basis what needs to be done, and let people know that you're available to them when they need help. So that's the phase one of a job startup. Then we get into phase two of job preparation and planning, which means a pre-job planning meeting and a checklist. We have to make sure that starting out a plan, we have a goal. We start out with a goal. What do we want to accomplish? We're planning on a weekly basis. Second step is what tasks or activities that do we have to execute to move forward in a positive way. And when we put down the actual time it takes to put that actual activity in place. After we have what's in place, we follow up and check on people and see how they're doing. We do that manage and walk around and make sure we do the right thing. And we do coach people and help them be better at what they do. Do a job site safety audit. What are we going to check when we hit the site? Making sure we identify the roles of all key players and make sure they understand what their job is. So that's the job preparation and planning. Job in progress. What is that about? That's all the requirements of the paperwork requirements that we need on the job site. Is the putting together a 2-week look ahead because things are changing all the time. So we look at our weekly plan and then we forecast what we do for the next 2 weeks. And we're always every Friday adjusting that 2-week look ahead so that we have the right process to move forward and make sure that people have exactly, they know what they want. We have to do weekly material equipment and make sure we have an order form to do that. Who's our supplier? Make sure they have what we need when we need it. Part of the equipment is also how do we do any maintenance and repair on equipment and make sure that we know how it's done. We do our daily huddles, make sure the foreman meets his crew before a job starts and talk about, well, here's what we need to do for today. Here's the tasks that we have. Here's the actual amount of time we need to do it. If you run into barriers that you're not so sure what to do, call me. I'm your foreman. I'll be there for you, and I'll get the appropriate help to help you solve the problems. Make sure that we know extra work authorization. Say something is missing. You have to get a WA, an extra work authorization, completed. Foreman fills that out and turns it in so we get what we need to do the job. If we need certain RFI information, a record of information, a log sheet, so when we get the right information, we can make a note of it. How we do our change order. Make sure that at the 50% meeting of the job being completed, we meet back with our general contractor and we talk about how the job has been progressing. Any feedback from the general contractor that we need to pay attention to. Make sure that we continue planning and we replan and keep holding people accountable and make sure we delegate to people, make sure we know what they're good at, and give them the right goals to handle and the right tools and equipment to move forward with. That's part of the job progress. Job closeout. The controls for job closeout would be zero punch list. Make sure that as we move along and there are things that get in the way, remove any barriers that are eliminated as we go, so that at the end we have the no zero punch list. Everything's been taken care of. It's planning and acting and performing as we go. It's the continuing general evaluating our subs and how are they performing, and making sure they're on the right track, so that we're monitoring how the jobs are doing, how the subs are performing, and give that feedback to the general contractor as our continuing plan as we move forward. We do before we leave a job, we do a final job walk around. Make sure we get all the equipment off the job. Make sure we know exactly what the barriers are and how we took care of them. That we have a final report to give feedback to the general contractor as what were the positives that we did and how we reached the actual met the policies and the planning to make sure we optimize our profitability. We have a post-job review with our own people. Lessons learned. How well did we do on the job? Did we meet all of our goals? What can we do to improve for doing a job effectively and efficiently when we have another job like this? And then we make sure we collect all our tool, equipment, and material, have an inventory, get it off the job site. Anything that's been defective or equipment that's in disrepair, make sure we get it off the job and get it back to our warehouse and make sure it gets repaired and actual report so that we can use it again the next time. Those are the 4 phases of the construction process. So basically, we want to make sure that we are very, very effective in managing our profit, our project success. One of the first things we always have to do is continue managing productivity and making sure that we utilize proper productivity and that we're linked up between the office and the field. That actually, without a teamwork, working with the right amount of resources and proper direction and clarifying, dealing with effective expectations, we will not be doing our job. So it's a cooperative effort between the foreman, superintendent, project manager, everybody working together as one unit connected to receive appropriate results. With a good, solid, effective, and efficient team, things will move in a profit direction, and we will maximize our productivity and profits. Number 2, make sure we always have a detailed work plan, that we're not guessing and winging things. We know what the important deliverables are. Continuing our 2-week schedule, we stay on top of it and don't lose sight of it. Make sure that we are managing the budget and make sure that we're not getting out of control. Make sure we know what the standards of quality are and make sure that they're in place. Any risk factors that get in the way, like some of the one of the contractors might be not doing all the things they should be doing and not using the right appropriate procedures, we have to be ready to work with them and assist them so they can move forward. Second thing is actually making sure that we have a clear project, making sure we understand clearly exactly what the general contractor's needs are. Remember, there are 2 kinds of contractors. There are the people that work for us. They are the inside contractors that work for us. And then we have the people that we deliver our ultimate job contractor or the general contractor out there. And we have to make sure that we're giving them what they need and have the right contractor and schedule that they have to get them to a positive result. Secondly, it's important that we know what the actual scope of work is and what we need to accomplish and what the quality specs are. Making sure, again, we know what the key job responsibilities are for all of our people, and they have a clear understanding of what's expected and what their standards are. The last thing, and then is have a real clear contract that people know what's expected from the contract. That's tied into our actual our project plan. Because with the right plan and the right information, if we implement and put in place what we need, that'll be effective and efficient. The next thing is number 4 is high quality, making sure it's in place, making sure that we know how to have our customer delight and make sure our contractor really is tied to what we do and they really appreciate what we're doing for them. It's installing the right information with the right productivity so it's installed properly. It's requiring to make sure that our expectations are clearly satisfied. You know what I want, I know what you want, and we move forward. We put that plan together. We have a zero punch list, so always removing obstacles as we go along, and we continue to move things in an effective and efficient way. We always are concerned about doing the right thing so we don't have rework, and constant coaching and connecting with people and making sure they know what they want. The next thing is making sure that we have the right conditions and change order process in place, effective documentation, that we write down the things that are any obstacles that get in the way. What are they? What problems are they causing us? What do we need to do to improve that? Making sure we know all the aspects of what is in the contract. Get a copy of that contract. Make sure we understand it. Making our foreman knows, understand exactly what are all the things in the contract that he needs to know in terms of safety and quantity and quality, and always making sure we're aligned with all the people in the process. Make sure we know how to deal and manage our cost, the cost of labor, cost of equipment, cost of material, cost of labor costs, all cost of delivery. We have to know what those are and make sure people know how much they have in terms of profitability and the amount of actual hours they have to get the job done effectively and efficiently. We have to make sure that we do a quality review and always let the contractor know that here's what we're doing to help them succeed effectively and efficiently. Always document the positives, any actual things that are negatives, let's make sure we move them out of the way. It's all back again to people, because productivity equals profitability. You have to make sure that everybody knows exactly what their jobs are, how effectively to carry them forward, and to move out in a positive way so we maximize our productivity and profitability. Again, without maximizing our profitability, we will diminish our profitability and will always be in a catch-up hodgepodge position, which makes us ineffective and possibly we'll end up losing work instead of gaining and satisfying our customers. So let's make sure we have the right controls in place, the right people with the right skills, and do we know exactly that we have a right roadmap that takes us down the right place so we know exactly how to get it done. Let's make sure that we really, really focus on what's important and make sure people have the right plans, organization, and direction and controls in place so they can continue to move forward and maximize their profitability and productivity. Any questions?
Norm, thank you. We've got a number of questions here, and also a reminder, audience, if you have any questions that you'd like to pose to Norm, please submit them through the chat function or the question box on your GoToMeeting dashboard here. So with that, our first question, Norm, according to a 2019 article on Level Set, poor project monitoring, poor organization, ineffective financial controls were the 3 main causes of hidden losses for contractors on their projects. Are these the result of an inefficient productivity model or ineffective leadership, possibly both?
Well, you know, the actual things that are really important to me are 3 things that are major issues that we don't lose sight of. Number 1 is make sure that as a leader we are doing effective coaching, that we do line up one-on-one with people and make sure we help them improve and give them what they need to be effective. Secondly, we have to make sure we have a support system in place. Who do I go to when I'm in trouble? How do I help people improve? How do we make sure they do the actual MBWA and manage by walking around and making sure that we're supporting people to succeed? And secondly, it's the actual leadership of moving and transitioning to building teamwork. Because without teamwork, people flounder. So those are the three key things that I feel have to happen if we're going to make the productivity model work.
Okay, our second question that came in. One of your key elements in the productivity model is making things better and innovating throughout the company. How has technology helped or hindered the ability and pace of innovation in construction?
Well, because without the right technology in place, the right equipment, the right material, or a labor budget, people are struggling. And when they're struggling, we have to find out why and make sure they do the right stuff. People may have difficulty managing conflict. We better intervene and find out and make sure they understand how to overcome conflict, how to do effective problem solving. They're not so sure of what the steps are, and we have to make sure they understand what it takes to solve problems. We have to make sure that people know what accountability is all about and that they follow the right standards and follow through and have the right deadlines to make sure that the labor and materials are in place. Make sure we pay attention to the human factor, that without people with the right skills and right information and knowledge, they're not going to be effective. So we have to focus on the human factor, that without strong people with the right skills, we may be losing productivity. So it always takes a chronology of moving forward and the right technology so that people can solve problems in a very effective and efficient way.
Thanks, Norb. Our third question, in previous AWCI Media online learning series programs, we've talked about the importance and influence of a company's culture in terms of everything from transition planning to safety and health programs. Of the 5 elements of a culture you outlined, is there one in particular that should take precedent over the others, or are they all equally valuable?
No, I think that what we have to pay attention to is what I call situational leadership. That people are looking for our strong leadership to move forward, and it's different strokes for different folks. Make sure we understand what our people need. For example, we have to make sure that we have different type of personalities on a job site. We may have a person that's very dominant and wants to know exactly how we can satisfy his needs and give what he needs to do the job, and we usually the proper leadership to help this person succeed. We make sure that when people want us to participate and allow them to be involved, we bring them in and we give them our input. We ask them what their needs are, what is it important to them, and we'll make sure that we deliver that. We make sure that we know we delegate and give people what they need to be effective and efficient on the job site. What are their needs? What tools, equipment, materials? What are they really looking for? So we can give it to them. That we make sure that there's effective listening going on. That we listen to our people and they listen to us. And we know that when there needs to be a specific information to carry a job through, that we do that without interruption and make sure people know what that is. We do not use situational leadership, everybody is different. And because of that, we acknowledge that and we make sure people get what they need to be effective and efficient and carry out what they're responsible for, so that we can move forward in a positive way and make it happen and make sure we increase productivity and maximize our profits.
Norb, you've been in the business since 1982, and so this is 2 parts here. Have you seen a change or evolution in the leadership skills from then until now? And has the shift in generations from baby boomers to now millennials and Generation Z in the workplace forced leaders to adapt to generational expectations?
Well, yeah, with the millennials, they're always looking for ways to make things better, and they don't shoot from the hip, and they want us to realize how important they are to get the job done. So the millennials are people saying, I will do my job, but if I need your help, I want you to be there for me. So it's very important that we're optimistic. Millennials say, I'm optimistic. I want to do the right thing. How can you help me? I want to make sure that there's diversity in what I do, and you can please help me with that. What's my civic duty to help people in an organization function effectively? Can you please help me with that? Make sure that people have integrity and they want to be open and honest, and I need to be open and honest with them so we move forward. I need to trust people and make sure that they're going to do the right thing, and I'm going to give them what they need. And if they need my help, I'll be there for them, to make sure that they're adaptable and that they actually, when there's change, they actually embrace it, and that we're fair with people and make sure they have the right standards in place and the right rules are being followed, and that we'll be there to help them move along. So when these people, their needs are satisfied and they're actually coming from a different place than most people are, we pay attention to the millennials and making sure that we value what they have to do, and they're always ready to move forward and help us go where we want to be, but they do not like to be abandoned. So we have to be united and make sure they cooperate in a very positive way so they continue down the road to making things more effective, efficient, and productive.
Norm, staying with leadership for a moment, you talked about having an accountability system in place to reinforce performance throughout the company. How critical is it that that system be applied universally to every employee?
Well, it's very important, because without accountability, the animals will run the zoo. And I can't allow them to do that. I have to be a strong person who says, look, accountability is important. I'm going to tell you what the standards are, and I'll explain them to you and ask any questions you have. But if those standards are not put in place, we are losing productivity. Another thing we have to put in place is make sure you have all the resources you have to do your job. We're going to make sure you get those resources, and then they're carried out in a positive way, and we'll give you what you need. We don't abandon people when they're struggling. They don't know how to problem solve. We'll show them the ways to problem solve, and we'll accompany them to making sure they know the right thing to do and get it done in a certain amount of time, and that we give them the actual needs and materials and tools and manpower in the right place, that we just don't abandon people. We're there to help them succeed at all times. We are partners. We are together. We are united. Together, working together as a team, we actually will get the best work done on time. People will be very important to us, because without the right people with the right skills and the right resources, right attitude, how they feel about productivity, we're all together and united, and if we don't do that together, we're going to fail. So again, people plus productivity and teamwork, and doing the actual make sure all the standards are in place and there's accountability system, that has to be ongoing, and we never give up on that, so people can always be better at what they do and lead without falling behind.
Norm, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule today to sit down with us and shed some light on how we as contractors can build a stronger image in the marketplace and increase our competitive advantage while continuing that journey to excellence. So I appreciate that, Norm, and our audience appreciates that too. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and make sure that we take care of the top performers and safe performers and people who care about things, and make sure that the standards are always available so they can continue to move forward and do what's right to increase productivity and maximize productivity. Thanks for utilizing my services.
Thank you, Norb. On behalf of AWCI, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us for today's AWCI Media Online Learning Series program. We would also like to thank Grabber Construction Products Incorporated for their generous support of today's webinar. As a reminder, this program was recorded and you'll receive a link to AWCI's online program library, as well as a link to a brief post-event survey following the conclusion of our broadcast. In addition, we have some great resources available through the Foundation for the Wall and Ceiling Industry, of which you can access online. And our next AWCI Media Online Learning Series program is Prefabrication. The Future is Now. It will be held on Thursday, November 14th at 2 p.m. And be on the lookout for an email with details on how to register next week. Thanks again and have a productive day.
No questions.